So here we have a question from concentration topic, right? The basic concepts of chemistry. Let's see the question first. Find the molality of 1 molar HCl solution having density of 1.5365 gram per ml. Okay. See, you have to find out molality, right? What is the formula for molality? We represent it with small m. Moles of solute, which is HCl here. So I'll say moles of HCl upon weight of solvent. I'll represent solvent, that is water, of course, because it is not mentioned what is the solvent. So we'll take water as a solvent, right? So moles of HCl upon weight of solvent, and that too in kg. This is the formula for molality, right? See, now do we have the moles? No. Do we have the weight? No. So we have to find out both of them, and we are given that molality is 1 molar, molarity is 1 molar, and density of solution, HCl solution, is this value. Okay. See, can I read molarity, 1 molar molarity, as 1 mole of HCl in 1 liter of solution? Right? This is how we read molarity by definition, and by this I know that n moles of HCl is 1 and volume of solution is 1 liter. These are the two information that I have. Okay, I'll put the value of moles of HCl in as 1. Now I only want is weight of solvent, right? That too in kg. Okay. See, I am given density of solution. What is the formula for density? It is weight of solution by volume of solution. So from this, can I calculate weight? Okay, weight of solution will be density into volume. So the density with units is 1.5365 gram per ml, right? And volume is 1 liter, that is 1000 ml. If I multiply it with 1000 ml, what I'll get is 1536.5 grams, right? This is the weight of solution, but I need the weight of solvent. So solution is a combination of solvent plus solute. If I know the weight of solute and I subtracted it from solution, can I get the weight of solvent, right? So the only thing that I need is weight of HCl. Let's calculate the weight of HCl. See, I have moles of HCl over here. What is the formula for moles? It is weight by molar mass. So weight will be moles into molar mass. What is the moles? 1. What is the molar mass of HCl? Hydrogen 1, chlorine 35.5. It will give you 36.5 gram. So I'll have weight as 36.5 gram for HCl. Now I need to calculate WA, weight of solvent, right? So I'll subtract weight of solution minus weight of HCl, right? What is the weight of solution? It is 1536.5. And what is the weight of HCl? It is 36.5. I can see some simple calculations, right? Okay, so it comes out to be 1500 gram. Yes, okay, and I have to convert it into kg. So it will be 1500 by 1000 kilogram. I'll write it as 1.5 kg. Perfect. Okay, so let's put the value in the formula of molality. I'll put it as 1.5 here, and if you solve it, it will become 10 by 15, which will be 2 by 3, which is nothing but 0.67 molal, small m, right? If you look at the option A seems to be the correct answer to this question. So here we have a true false statement. Let's read the question and the options. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Okay, so we have to find the false statement. The peroxide ion has a bond order of 1 while oxygen molecule has a bond order of 2. Okay, you have peroxide ion, oxygen molecule. Peroxide has weaker bond than dioxygen molecule has. Okay, the peroxide ion has, as well as the dioxygen molecule, are paramagnetic. Okay, this is the magnetic property. The bond length of peroxide ion is greater than the dioxygen molecule. Okay, see See, what do we know about peroxide ion is it is O2 minus 2, right? And if you draw it like this, it will look like this. This is peroxide ion, and you know this is O2, oxygen molecule, right? So let's read the statements once more and see if we can figure out which one is the incorrect one. The peroxide ion has a bond order of 1, true, while the oxygen molecule has a bond order of 2, very true. This is true statement, cannot be the answer. Option B, the peroxide ion has a weaker bond than dioxygen molecule has. This is right. Peroxide has one bond and oxygen, O2, looks like this. 2 bonds. So, obviously, the peroxide bond is weaker. So, this is also true. Peroxide ion as well as the dioxygen molecules are paramagnetic. Just by looking at the structures, you cannot say that which one is paramagnetic, which one is diamagnetic. So for that, you have to write the molecular orbital electronic configuration. So let's wait for the option C. Okay. So, and option D, the bond length of the peroxide ion is greater than that of the dioxygen molecule. Obviously, the bond length will be greater because single bond is longer as compared to double bond. So this also seems to be true. Although without going through the conventional method of writing the electronic configuration, I can tell you that C is the correct answer, but we have to verify that. Okay, so let's write the electronic configuration for O2 minus 2 and O2. For O2 minus 2, the number of electrons will be 16 plus 2, 18 electrons. And let's write the electronic configuration. This will be sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2. Think for a moment. More than 14 electrons, sp mixing not possible. We'll go by sigma 2pz 2 pi 2px is equal to pi 2py 2 pi star 2px is equal to pi star 2py 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18. Perfect. This is the electronic configuration of O2 minus 2, and you can see all the electrons are paired. So I'll call it as diamagnetic. Right? Perfect. Let's talk about O2. It'll be like O2 is 16 electron. So from here to here, it will be exactly same. The only difference will be pi star 2px is equal to pi star 2py 2py 1 1, right? This is 16 electron, right? So we can observe, we can see that we have unpaired electrons, and because we have unpaired electron, obviously this is going to be paramagnetic. And so O2 minus 2, that is peroxide, is diamagnetic and oxygen molecule is paramagnetic. So if you look at the option C, the peroxide ion as well as dioxygen molecule are paramagnetic, this is incorrect. That means this is the false statement. That means this is going to be the correct answer or the incorrect statement in this question. So option C, the final answer to this question. Thank you. So here we have a question from states of matter and effusion diffusion topic. Let's read the statement first. Which of the following pairs of gases will have identical rate of effusion under similar conditions? Okay, as we know, rate is inversely proportional to square root of molar mass of any gas, right? So if you have to compare, you want identical rate, right? So keeping all other conditions similar, the surface area and other things, right? So can we just say that if rate is inversely proportional to molar mass, that then those two gases will have similar rate which have similar molar mass? Make sense? Okay. So we need to calculate the molar mass of the options. Let's do that one by one. Diprotium, not a very simple name, but it is H2. You know, protium, proton, H, diprotium, H2. Dideuterium, deuterium is another isotope of hydrogen, that is D. So dideuterium will be D2. Obviously, isotopes have different mass, so H2 and D2 will have different mass, cannot have same rate, right? CO2, carbon dioxide, CO2, and ethane. Ethane is C2, CnH2n plus 2, C2H6. Let's calculate the mass. For carbon dioxide, it is 12 plus 16 into 2. 12 plus 32, that is 44 gram per mole. And for ethane, C2H6, C2 12 to 24 plus 6 is 30 gram per mole. No, cannot be our answer because different masses, different rates. Dideuterium is again D2. Helium is He. Helium, do not write helium as H2. Helium is a noble gas, independent existence. So mass for D2 is 2 into 2, 4, isotope of hydrogen. And mass for helium is again 4. Oh yes, exactly matching. This is going to be the answer. Let's see. Let's do it for option D, which is ethene. Ethene is C2H4, unsaturated alkene. The simplest unsaturated alkene rather. Ethane, C2H6, molecular formula is different. So obviously the mass is going to be different. No need to calculate it. So option C is the only option where we have the same masses. So option C is going to be the correct answer to this question. They will have same rate. So here we have a question from Born-Haber cycle, right? And this is a theoretical question. Let's read the statement first. Which of the following type of energies are involved in Born-Haber cycle? And we have ionization, bond dissociation, lattice, or all of these. Okay. Let's have a general idea what Born-Haber cycle is. Basically, it is used for enthalpy calculation for lattice energy calculation of crystalline solid ionic compounds, right? So let's take a general case. Let's suppose we have A solid and B2 gas. They'll combine to form AB solid with A plus B minus, right? So this is enthalpy of formation. This is formation reaction for AB. And if you expand this process, so A solid to A gas, what this process is sublimation. So you have sublimation energy or enthalpy of sublimation here. I'll just write sublimation, right? And enthalpy of sublimation is what is involved in this process. And if you move from A gas to A plus gas, you have to ionize your metallic part. So this is ionization energy. Ionization energy. Okay. B2 gas to B gas. You are breaking the bond of B2 molecule. So bond dissociation energy, obviously it is going to be half because you only need one B atom. Now B gas to B minus gas, the electron lost by A will be accepted by B, and we call this as gain of electron. So enthalpy will be electron gain enthalpy. Finally, these gaseous ions will combine and they are going to form AB solid. So the combination and from gaseous to solid, this process is known as lattice formation. The crystalline lattice of AB will be formed and you call this as lattice energy, right? The energy here will be lattice energy. Okay. So let's quickly see what all energies are there. You have sublimation, you have ionization, you have bond dissociation, you have electron gain enthalpy and lattice energy. And here you can write in this first step directly, which is using A solid B2 gas as formation, right? Enthalpy of formation, you can say that enthalpy of formation is what is going to exchange in this process. So these are the all energies. Let's go back to the options and we have ionization energy. Yes, when you are forming A gas to A plus gas, ionization energy was involved there. Bond dissociation energy, of course, yes. Why? When you formed B2 to B, when you formed B from B2, the bond dissociation energy was involved in Born-Haber cycle. Yes, it is there. So if 1 and 2 is there, obviously answer is going to be all of the above. And C, yes, the most important part is lattice energy. Why? Because we do Born-Haber cycle. In the language of practical chemistry, Born-Haber cycle is used to calculate the lattice energy of any crystalline solid compound, right? So yes, lattice energy is also involved. So option D is of course the right answer to this question, that all the energies which are given in option A, B and C are there in Born-Haber cycle. So option D, the correct answer. And with this, we close this question. Thank you. Here we have a question, a numerical question from the application of Hess law. So let's read the statement first. The enthalpy of formation, standard enthalpy of formation for the CO2 gas, CO gas and H2O liquid are minus 393.5, minus 110.5 and minus 241.8 kilojoule per mole respectively. Okay. The standard enthalpy change in kilojoule per mole for the given reaction is, and the reaction given is CO2 gaseous state, H2 gaseous state combines to form carbon monoxide and water liquid. Okay. So you have to use the standard enthalpy of formation of CO2, carbon monoxide and water liquid to finally arrive at this reaction. So let's see. Let's write the formation reaction for CO2, CO and H2O first. So for CO2, C plus O2 will give you CO2. Solid, gas, gas. Delta H given is minus 393.5. Okay. C plus half O2 will give you CO. Solid, gas, gas. Delta H, let me call it as delta H1. This will be delta H2 will be minus 110.5 kilojoule per mole. All the units are kilojoule per mole and the unit of answer is also kilojoule per mole. So I am avoiding writing it again and again. Okay. So if you talk about water, so H2 plus O2 will give you H2O. Balance the reaction. H2 plus half O2 will give you H2O. The states will be gas, gas and liquid. Delta H3 given is minus 241.8 kilojoule per mole. Okay. If you observe the final reaction, you have CO2 on the reactant side, and in reaction 1, I'll call it as reaction 1, this as 2 and this one as 3rd. If you observe reaction 1, you have CO2 on the product side, but you need CO2 on the reactant side for the final reaction. So we will reverse reaction 1, of course. So let me write it. Reverse of reaction 1. Okay. You want carbon monoxide on the product side, and if you observe reaction 2, you have carbon monoxide on the product side only. So reaction 2 as it is, and H2O liquid, you want it on the product side. Reaction 3rd, you have H2O liquid on the product side. Reaction 3 as it is. So if you add all of them in reverse reaction 1, let me write reaction 1 in reverse form. I'll write it as CO2 will react to give C plus O2. Let's add them. This is reverse of 1. Let's add them. So CO2, CO. So what you'll have is half O2 will get cancelled with one oxygen molecule, right? And this carbon solid will be cancelled with carbon solid, right? This is of course solid, this is gas and this is gas. So what you are left with is CO2 gas plus H2 gas will give you CO gas plus H2O liquid. If you observe, this is what looks similar, exactly similar to our final reaction. So because you have added all three of them, you have to add the enthalpies as well. So if you reverse a reaction, the sign of the enthalpy will get changed. The magnitude will remain same, but the sign will change from plus to minus or minus to plus. In this case, we have delta H1 as minus 393, so it will become plus 393.5. This is reverse of 1, plus I am calculating this part over here. 2, that is minus 110.5, plus 3, that is minus 241.8. This will be, see, this is delta H reaction. So you are adding all three of them to get this. So this will be my delta H reaction. Now you have to just calculate and get your answer. If I look at the options A, B, C, D, and I just want to simplify my calculations. Okay, I have 393 minus 110 minus 241. See, roughly can I calculate? This will be minus 241 and minus 110. So it will become minus 351. Okay, and I have plus 393. Obviously, my answer has to be positive. Why? Roughly, I am telling you, I have plus 393 and minus 351, right? So obviously it has to be positive. Option C, option D discarded. And you can see 90 and 50, somewhere around 40. So 424, option A discarded. So the only option left is option B. You can also calculate it, the exact value. If you want me to do that, give me a second, I'll do that for you. It will be 393.5 minus 8513, 112, 415, 213, 352.3. 5 minus 3 will be 0.2, and 3 minus 2, 1, 9 minus 5, 4, 41.2 kilojoule per mole. See, this is what we have got by approximation. So this is the actual answer, this is the exact value. We have already calculated with the approximation. See, approximation can save few seconds of yours, and in exam few seconds are really very precious and important. So try to save your time as much as possible, but do not compromise on accuracy as well. Okay, so option B is the correct answer to this question. And with this, we close this question. Thank you.